welcome back to the Crafty Yarn Barn. Today we're going to learn how to make a 6-petal flower. Looks sort of like a little daisy. Each of these flowers I've made using the same pattern. The only variation was in several. I did a slip stitch around the edging. On this one I did a single crochet around the edge rather than a slip stitch. This one first 2 rows I did with green, and then I switched over to a white and then finished it off with a slip stitch. And on this one, the large flower on the back, using the same pattern I did for the front, except the only difference is the weight of yarn. I used a size 4 worsted weight and then a size 3 weighted yarn for the front. The size of my hook, I went to a smaller hook for the front, and that created the slightly smaller flower. Then all I did was sewed it on top with a yarn hook and used a button. That is the only difference. And with this pattern I just finished it off just slightly different in the end. So let's get started, and I'll show you how to make the basics of the flower, and you can dress it up any way you want with buttons, slip stitching, finish it off around the edge with a single crochet. The only thing limiting you is your imagination. Let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you the basics of how to make this beautiful little petaled flower. The first thing we do is a slip stitch. We're going to put that on our hook. So we make our slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 8. Yarn over and pull it through. Put your hook underneath the yarn. Grab it and pull it through. That's 2. Underneath the hook, grab it and pull it through. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we've made 8 foundation chains. We're going to take our hook and we're going to do a slip stitch. Stick our hook through that first chain on our foundation. Stick it through. We're going to grab the yarn, go underneath and grab the yarn, and we're going to pull it through that first loop, and then we're going to continue on and pull it through the loop that was on our hook. So that's a slip stitch. Now you've made a circle. From here, we're going to do round 1. We're going to chain 3, and that's going to count for our first double crochet. In the UK, that's considered a treble crochet. The US, it's a double crochet, so that will count as 1 double crochet. Now we're going to do 2 more double crochet. Take your hook, go underneath the yarn, and we're going to take our hook and go into the circle, and we're going to grab the yarn and pull it back through. That gives you 3 loops on your hook. Take the yarn, go underneath, and pull the yarn through the first 2 loops, leaving only 2 left on your hook. Go underneath the yarn, and you're going to pull the yarn through the remaining 2 loops that are on your hook. That's a double crochet. Now keep in mind, I have this tail here from that original slip stitch that we put on our hook when we first started. All I'm doing is holding that on my foundation circle here that we made, because we're going to crochet that into our project. In a minute we'll cut off the little tail, but we're going to go ahead and hold that onto that circle and crochet it in to our project. So your chain 3 was your first post. Now we did a double crochet, and now we're going to do 1 more double crochet. Go underneath the yarn, push it through the loop, grab the yarn and pull it back through. That leaves 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull it through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull it through the next 2 loops. That gives you 3 posts. Now we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put your finger on the loop that's on your hook. Go back and hold your circle here. Hold that yarn tail on that circle because we're wanting to crochet it into the project. Put your finger here. Go underneath the yarn. Stick it through that circle. Grab the yarn underneath. Pull it back through. That leaves 3 loops. Now you're going to do your double crochet. Go underneath and pull it through the first 2 loops. And go underneath and yarn over and pull the string through the next 2 loops on your hook. That's the first post of your second set of 3. Now we're going to do 2 more double crochet. Go underneath and we're double crocheting that right onto that ring. 2 more. And see that tail being crocheted right into the project. You can't see it. Now you've completed the first flower petal, chain 6 space for your flower petal. You've chained 6 and made 3 double crochet. You want to do that 5 more times. Chain 6 and 3 double crochet. So go ahead and do that and stop and I'll meet you there. All right, now we're done. Okay, now you've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 3 double crochets, chain 6s. 3 double crochet, chain 6, 3 double crochet, chain 6. You've done that 5 times. And we're going to pull it a little bit around that ring to give myself a little bit of space here. So I've ended off. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. Now I need to make my 6th petal. I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this first post here that I made. This is the first chain 3 post that I made after I made my circle from my foundation chain. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to put it through the top stitches of that chain. And I'm going to do a slip stitch. There, that connects that. See? Now you have your 6 flower petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is number 6. So that was our first round. And you can see our tail here. We can go ahead and I'm going to pull it out a little bit, snip it off, and then straighten that out, and it gets lost right there into the stitching, into the base of where we did our double crochet. Now I'm going to slip stitch one more time into the next double crochet right at the top, put it in, pull it through, and slip stitch again. Now I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm about to start the sequence of stitches to complete the petals. Each petal is done the exact same way. Now I'm going to do a single crochet, a half double, 7 doubled crochets, a half double, and then a single. I'm going to do that on each one. Look on the screen at the bottom and it's going to give you the sequence. Again, I'm going to repeat it. Single crochet, half double, 7 double crochets, 1 half double, 1 single. So let's go ahead and do that now. So single crochet, one half double crochet, and then 7 double crochets. It's 2. Okay, this is number 3. This is number 4. Number 5. Number 6. And number 7. Now we're going to do a half double. And we're going to do a single. So that's our petal. So slip stitched the top of that middle chain post, chain 1, 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 7 double crochet, another half double crochet, a single crochet, and now we're going to move on. We're going to join here and start another petal. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that middle chain 3 post. So stick your hook through there, do a quick slip stitch. You're going to chain 1, and now we're going to start our petal again. Single crochet, half double crochet, and then 7 double crochets. That's 2. That's 3. 4. 5. 6. And that's 7 double crochets. Now we need a half double, and then a single. Then you're going to chain 1. You're going to slip stitch right into the top of that middle post on that set of 3. You're going to slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to start the next petal. Now go ahead and finish your flower all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get done with your last flower petal, and I'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, I finished my last petal. I just did my last single crochet onto that petal, so I'm going to do a chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch right into the top of that second post of this set of 3. We're going to put it through that loop, draw it through, and slip stitch. Now that's my flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my string, leaving a pretty good sized tail, maybe about 6 inches. I'm going to take my yarn and my hook. I'm going to put the hook under the yarn, and I'm going to pull it through that loop, pull it all the way through. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it tight. And that is really secure there. So I'm going to take my yarn tail. I like to use a yarn needle. It's plastic. Some people do it with their hook, but I like to do it with a yarn needle, and I'll just sew that tail right into that flower. I flip it over, and you can do it with your hook if you want to, and I just take that tail and I just sew that tail right into your little project here. Once I have it sewn in and hidden pretty well, I'll just slip it off there, take my scissors, snip off that yarn, and there's your flower. There's the basic flower. Let's go ahead and I'll show you how to slip stitch right onto it. And you can start really anywhere. I'm going to put it right through the top of this stitch here. Take this yarn and I'm just going to pull it through. Okay, so I've got this yarn tail here on the back. I'm just going to let that hang there for a little bit and I'll sew it through when I get done to the end. And then I'm going to slip stitch. Now I only have one loop on my hook. I have my tail hanging back here. I'm going to take the hook and put it through the very next stitch. Yarn over, pull it through, and we're going to slip stitch. We go into the next yarn over, we're going to slip it right through. Take your hook, go into the very top of the post for your next stitch, pull the yarn through and slip stitch. Put your hook through the top of the next stitch. And you're going to do this all the way around into every single stitch, all the way around your flower. And that's going to give you a pretty little finish on the petals of your flower all the way around by just doing a simple slip stitch. Let's go all the way around and I'll meet you back at the beginning. My final slip stitch. And then I'm going to finish off right here. I'm going to slip stitch right here, pulling that through. I'm going to leave a tail on my yarn and I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to take my yarn and pull it through the loop. Pull it tight. Now I'm going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to sew these two tails into my project. I'm going to stick it through there and pull it through to the back. And on the back is where I'm going to really focus on sewing it in, because I don't want all that seen on the front of my flower. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to sew it in and try to keep it focused on being sewn in around your white. Because if you start throwing it into your pink, you're going to be able to see it. And you don't want it seen, you want it hidden. So I'm going to take my needle, stick it underneath that loop, and I'm just going to pull it through. I'm going to come through this side and go to the other, and I'm just going to weave it back and forth through that white on the back of the flower. See how it's being hidden? Now I'm going to go back the other way, a couple of stitches. So my little string's going to get hidden in there, and I don't want it coming loose. So I think that's pretty good, hidden pretty well. My last stitch here for this tail anyway. I'm going to pull it tight and clip it right next to the flower, and then when I stretch it back out, that little tail gets lost into that weave of those stitches. I'm going to do the other one. Isn't that darling? Isn't that the cutest little flower? Good job. So thank you so much for crafting and crocheting today with us here on the Crafty Yarn Barn. I hope my tutorial was able to help you. If you've liked what you've seen, definitely subscribe. Hit the like button, turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time that we upload a new video. Have a great, wonderful day.